Even if the night has swallowed your name, even if you can't see your reflection in the mirror of your own hope, the sun still waits for you. There is something sacred about the darkness, something the world rarely tells you. We have been taught to fear it, to run from it, to hide beneath the covers when it comes creeping into our hearts. But the truth, my dear, is that darkness is not your enemy. It is not the final chapter. It is the soil from which your rebirth will bloom. It is the silent teacher that whispers lessons no daylight could ever reveal. You see, every seed must first be buried before it grows. The seed does not protest the burial. It does not fight the heaviness of the earth or question why it was pushed beneath the surface. It simply trusts that what feels like an ending is actually the beginning of its awakening. And so must you. The darkness you are in right now is not your grave. It is your ground. The pain that surrounds you is not your punishment. It is your planting. There will come a time when your tears fall so freely that they water your own transformation. And while you may not see it, the roots of your strength are stretching quietly beneath the surface. You will not see the progress immediately. You will not always feel the growth. But every breath you take in your lowest moment is a silent act of survival, a promise to life that you are not done yet. The nights that once terrified you will one day feel holy, because those nights are when you learn to sit with yourself, when the noise faded and you could finally hear the whisper of your own soul. It will tell you, I am still here. Even when everything else leaves, even when the world grows cold, your spirit remains. Small, steady, waiting for you to notice that it never stopped glowing. We tend to believe that light means happiness and darkness means despair, but sometimes the brightest growth happens in the shadow. The caterpillar's wings are formed in a cocoon of complete darkness. The stars, those eternal beacons of hope, exist only because of the night. And when you think of it like that, maybe darkness is not absence, but preparation. Maybe you are not lost. Maybe you are being remade. When everything falls apart, your instincts may tell you to escape, to claw your way out of the darkness as quickly as you can. But if you pause, if you take one deep breath and let yourself just be, you will begin to notice what the darkness is giving you. It's giving you stillness. It's teaching you patience. It's showing you the parts of yourself that can only be revealed when there's no spotlight, no applause, no audience, only you and your heartbeat. The soil does not apologize for being heavy. It knows that its pressure is what gives the seed the strength to rise. So too does life. The weight you feel right now is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to forge you. The darkness may take away your comfort, but it gives you something far more valuable: depth. You begin to see differently when you've lived without light. You begin to understand compassion in ways only pain can teach. When you've been in the dark long enough, you start to see what truly matters. The small flicker of kindness from a stranger feels like sunrise. A moment of laughter feels like a lifetime of warmth. You begin to appreciate the simplest things, the way morning smells after rain, the way hope feels when it first returns. That is the beauty born from darkness. It refines your gratitude. It deepens your faith. And yet, darkness will test you. It will ask who you are when no one is watching. It will strip you of the illusions you've built about control, perfection, and timing. It will demand that you surrender, and surrender is hard. It means admitting that you do not have all the answers. It means letting go of what you thought your life would be and trusting that what's coming is better suited for your soul. There will be nights when you question your worth, when every mistake feels like proof that you are unworthy of light. But remember this: the sun does not judge the seed for taking time to bloom. It simply waits. Likewise, life is waiting for you to rise in your own rhythm. You do not need to rush your healing. The soil does not force the seed to grow faster. It nourishes it quietly, believing in what it cannot yet see. So, my dear, if you are walking through darkness now, hold your heart softly. Do not call yourself broken. You are becoming. You are gathering pieces of wisdom that can only be collected in the night. You are building resilience where weakness used to live. The darkness is showing you how strong your spirit truly is. You might not see it yet, but when you finally emerge, you will not be the same. You will stand taller. You will speak softer. You will love deeper. The darkness will not have defeated you. It will have defined you. It will have shaped you into someone who understands that beauty is not the absence of pain, but the courage to grow through it. You will learn that hope is not born in the light. It is born in the dark, in those quiet moments when you choose to keep breathing even when it hurts. One day you will look back on this time and realize that the soil that once buried you also nourished you. You will understand that the moments you thought were endings were actually beginnings wearing disguises. You will see that every heartbreak softened your heart just enough to let more love in. You will understand that every fall taught you how to rise with more grace. Darkness is not your enemy. It is the womb of your evolution. It is the quiet space where your spirit gathers strength to bloom again. So instead of running from it, learn to rest within it. Let it teach you. Let it strip away what no longer belongs. Let it remind you that even in your most shadowed hour, you are not lost. You are simply being prepared for your next dawn. The soil may be deep and the night may be long, but growth is happening even when you cannot see it. You are not stuck. You are sprouting. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. So trust the darkness. It knows what it's doing. Someday soon, when the time is right, the ground that once held you down will release you into the light. And the world will witness what the darkness already knew. You were never buried, only planted. There are seasons in life when silence feels like abandonment, when every prayer you whisper seems to fade into the ceiling and fall back unanswered. You look around and everyone else seems to be moving forward, smiling, thriving, while you're standing still, lost in the waiting. In those moments, the mind begins to play cruel tricks. Maybe I'm invisible, maybe I've been forgotten, maybe what I dreamed for myself was never meant to be. But that, my dear heart, is where you are wrong. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. The universe or God or whatever name you give to the divine rhythm that beats behind the scenes of this world has a way of working in whispers, not in shouts. Preparation always happens in quiet rooms. You do not see the tree growing when it is still beneath the soil. You do not hear the sculptor's first chisel strike when he studies the marble and imagines what beauty could be carved from it. You do not see the sunrise while it is still hidden behind the horizon, yet it is coming. It is always coming. Sometimes your waiting season is not punishment, it is refinement. The silence you feel is not neglect, but nurture. You are being shaped for something your current self could not yet carry. The very things that frustrate you, the pauses, the rejections, the endings, are the chisels carving you into someone capable of holding the blessings you've been asking for. Because what good is a dream if your spirit isn't strong enough to sustain it? Think about it. A diamond spends centuries in darkness before it glows. A pearl begins as irritation inside a shell. The most beautiful things in creation are born through pressure and time, and so are you. When life seems to slow down, it is not delay, it is design. There are lessons in the stillness that you cannot learn in the storm. There are strengths developing in you now that no one else can see, but one day they will be the very reasons you rise. You see, life has its own divine timing. We try to control it, to rush it, to demand that it unfold according to our plans, but timing belongs to the greater order of the universe. There are things that must happen first. people you have to meet, lessons you must learn, pain you have to outgrow before your path fully opens. The waiting is not wasted, it's weaving. Every delay is a thread being stitched into the fabric of who you are becoming. Sometimes being prepared means being stripped. You lose what you thought you couldn't live without. You are asked to let go of people, jobs, habits, identities that once defined you. It hurts deeply. You feel empty, but that emptiness is necessary because new beginnings require space. You cannot be filled with what's next if your heart is still crowded with what was. Life removes what cannot stay so it can make room for what must come. It feels cruel in the moment, but one day you'll understand. Every loss was an act of love in disguise. When you are in the middle of preparation, it feels endless. It feels like walking through fog. You can't see the next step, and you don't know if you're even moving in the right direction. But trust this. Growth is happening even when it's invisible. You are learning endurance. You are learning patience. You are learning how to trust something greater than your plans. And that trust, that surrender, will be the bridge that carries you into the next chapter. Preparation is also protection. Sometimes life holds you back because what you're asking for is not ready yet, or because you are not ready to hold it. You might think you're ready for the spotlight, but the universe knows you still need to learn how to stand tall in the shadows. You might think you're ready for love, but your heart still needs to learn how to love itself first. You might think you're ready for success, but your spirit still needs to learn humility. Life doesn't say no, it says not yet, and that not yet is a sacred kind of mercy. There will be days when it feels like the world has moved on without you. You'll see others reaching milestones and wonder why your moment hasn't come, but comparison will always blind you to your own becoming. Your timeline is not meant to match anyone else's. Flowers do not bloom all at once. Each one opens in its season, and when it's your season, it will not pass you by. What is meant for you has your name written into its DNA. It cannot be given away. It cannot be lost. It is simply waiting for your readiness to align with its arrival. You are not in a delay. You are in development. Every challenge, every pause, every closed door is shaping the resilience you'll need for what's ahead. Sometimes the greatest blessing is not in what happens quickly, but in what takes its time. Because time is the potter that molds your soul. It teaches you grace, empathy, gratitude, the qualities that make your eventual rise meaningful. And oh, when the preparation finally ends, you will see why it took so long. You will look back at every unanswered prayer and thank the heavens for their silence. You will realize that the waiting built the strength you needed to handle the weight of what you were praying for. You will understand that the pauses were not empty, they were pregnant with purpose. The universe has not forgotten you. It is working for you quietly, steadily, faithfully. You may not see the evidence yet, but the transformation is already underway. Every morning you rise despite uncertainty. Every day you choose hope over despair. Every moment you decide to keep moving, that is preparation in motion. You are being refined into the person who can hold everything that is meant for you without breaking under its beauty. So when you feel lost, remember this. Silence does not mean absence. Delay does not mean denial. And stillness does not mean stagnation. Life is simply rearranging itself to make room for your rise. What feels like isolation is incubation. You are not forgotten. You are being built, brick by sacred brick, into someone unstoppable. The day will come when everything you prayed for meets everything you've become. And when that day arrives, you will not wonder why it took so long. You will only whisper with quiet understanding, "Now I see. I wasn't waiting for the blessing. The blessing was waiting for me to be ready." There is a moment in every soul's journey when the world grows dim, when the noise fades, and the mirror no longer reflects the light you once knew. You look outside for something to fill the emptiness, a person, a dream, a sign from heaven that will remind you who you are. You search in faces, in achievements, in applause. You chase the sunlight across horizons, believing that maybe if you just find the right place, the right person, the right moment, you'll finally feel whole again. But my dear, the light you seek is not out there. It's inside you, waiting to be remembered. We spend our lives trying to find what was never lost. The world teaches us to search outward for validation, for love, for belonging. It tells us that happiness is something to be earned, that peace is a reward, that worth must be proven. But your soul knows better. It remembers a truth older than fear. You came into this world with light. You were born radiant, fearless, and whole. The world did not give you your light, and the world cannot take it away. When life wounds you, when heartbreak cracks your spirit open, it can feel as if that light has been extinguished. But it hasn't gone anywhere. It's only hidden, buried beneath layers of doubt, pain, and expectation. Like the sun behind clouds, your light is still burning, unseen perhaps, but unbroken. The clouds may linger, but they do not own the sky. And your pain, no matter how deep, does not own you. You are not meant to live in constant search of approval or in the shadow of your past mistakes. You are meant to remember the brilliance that has always lived inside you. That light within you has never left. It only waits for acknowledgement. It flickers quietly, whispering, "I am here." I never stopped shining. You only stopped looking. When you stop chasing the light outside and turn inward, you begin to see how sacred your spirit truly is. You start to feel the pulse of your own strength. You begin to remember that joy is not something you find, it's something you uncover. It's been sitting patiently beneath the rubble of all the times you doubted your worth. The world tries to convince you that light lives in things and success, beauty, possession, status. But those are reflections, not sources. The true source of light is your heart, the part of you that chooses kindness even when the world is cruel, that forgives when it would be easier to resent, that hopes when logic says there's no reason to. That is your divine flame, and nothing outside of you can extinguish it. When you remember your light, you begin to live differently. You stop competing because you know no one else's glow diminishes yours. You stop seeking permission to exist because your existence itself is proof of purpose. You stop trying to be impressive and start trying to be authentic. And in that authenticity, your light expands gently, powerfully, beautifully. But remembering your light is not easy. It requires honesty. It asks you to face the shadows within, the self-doubt, the fear, the pain you've been avoiding, because light cannot be remembered without meeting the dark. You must walk through the places where you forgot your worth. You must touch the wounds that told you you were not enough. You must forgive yourself for all the times you dimmed your shine to make others comfortable. The journey inward is not comfortable, but it is sacred. When you sit in silence and face yourself without judgment, something miraculous happens. You begin to see your light again, not as something you must earn, but as something you already are. You realize that healing isn't about becoming something new, it's about returning to the truth you've always carried. You are not broken, you are buried. Beneath the noise of doubt, beneath the weight of expectations, beneath the pain of your past, your light has been waiting for you to remember it. And when you finally do, the world around you begins to change. Not because it suddenly becomes easier, but because you begin to see it differently. You become the light in every room you enter. You become the warmth that others feel even before you speak. The light within you is not fragile. It has survived storms that should have shattered you. It has lived through heartbreak, loss, betrayal, and fear, and still, here you are, still breathing, still trying, still capable of love. That persistence alone is proof of your radiance. Your light is not the absence of struggle. It is the courage to keep glowing despite it. And the more you nurture it, the more it grows. Every time you choose compassion over bitterness, your light strengthens. Every time you speak truth instead of silence, it expands. Every time you forgive yourself for being human, it shines a little brighter. You do not need the world's permission to be radiant. Your light is your birthright. There will be people who try to dim it, who misunderstand your glow, who mistake your peace for arrogance or your boundaries for coldness. Let them. The sun does not apologize for shining. It simply rises every single day, whether the world praises it or not. Be that steady. Be that unapologetic about your own brilliance. When you finally remember your light, you stop searching for home in others because you realize you are home. You stop waiting for someone to save you because you understand you were your own savior all along. You stop longing for the light at the end of the tunnel because you realize you are the light that guides you through it. And when others see your glow, they too will start to remember theirs, because light is contagious. When you shine, you remind others of what's been hidden within them. Your courage becomes their permission. Your healing becomes their hope. That is how the world changes. Not by waiting for someone else to bring the light, but by each of us remembering our own. So when the night feels endless and you begin to wonder if you've lost yourself, pause. Take a breath. Place your hand over your heart. Feel that steady rhythm. That's your reminder. That is life itself whispering, I am still here. That is your light pulsing, waiting to be seen again. You don't need to travel far to find what's already yours. You just need to turn inward, gently, bravely, and look with love. Because the truth has always been this. The light you've been searching for was never in the sunrise, the stars, or someone else's eyes. It has always been in you, quiet, constant, patient, waiting to be remembered. Healing doesn't arrive with fanfare. It doesn't knock on your door with bright colors and loud promises. It comes softly, in whispers and pauses. It moves slowly, often unseen, shaping you from the inside out. Healing doesn't rush. It glows quietly, like the first hint of dawn after a long, endless night. You may not notice its arrival, but one day you will look back and realize that the weight you carried no longer hurts the same way. The ache has softened, the memories sting less, and in their place there is a quiet peace that you can't quite explain. That is healing, gentle, patient, steady. The world will try to convince you that healing must be quick, that moving on is a race, that growth must be loud to be real. But the truth is, the deepest healing often happens in silence. It happens in the small moments that no one sees, in the way you get out of bed even when you feel empty, in the way you choose to breathe through pain instead of numbing it, in the way you begin to forgive yourself for not being okay. Healing is not a sudden transformation. It's a slow unfolding, like petals opening to sunlight after being curled in darkness for too long. You cannot force healing any more than you can force the sun to rise. It comes when it's ready. It takes its own time, and that is its beauty, because every wound has its own rhythm, every heart its own pace. What heals one person in months may take you years, and that's not failure, that's humanity. There's no timeline for becoming whole again. The cracks in your soul will not close on command. They will close when they have learned what they needed to teach you. In the beginning, healing feels impossible. The pain is fresh, the loss too heavy. You wonder if you'll ever feel like yourself again. But what you don't see is that even in those unbearable moments, healing has already begun. Every tear you shed is a release. Every breath you take after heartbreak is defiance. Every time you speak your truth, you are mending something inside you. Healing doesn't always look like peace. Sometimes it looks like chaos. Sometimes it looks like falling apart, because falling apart is what allows you to rebuild differently. There's a quiet kind of magic in allowing yourself to rest while the storm still rages. The world glorifies strength that looks like movement, running, achieving, distracting, but the truest strength is often stillness. It's the courage to sit with your pain and say, I won't run from you. It's the patience to let your wounds breathe instead of covering them with temporary comfort. Healing doesn't demand that you forget. It asks that you accept. It doesn't erase the past. It helps you make peace with it. And though healing is quiet, it is not weak. It is power in its most humble form. Think of a seed underground, unseen, silent, yet pushing through the dirt toward the light. That is what your healing is doing. Every day you show up for yourself, no matter how small the step, you are growing roots of resilience. You might not see progress, but it's happening. Slowly, gently, faithfully. The pain that once defined you begins to lose its hold, not because it disappears, but because you are learning to live beyond it. Some days you'll feel strong, like you can take on the world again. Other days, the grief will sneak back in, and you'll feel like you've gone backward. But even those days are part of the process. Healing is not a straight line, it's a rhythm. Forward, backward, pause, repeat. The key is to keep showing up, to trust that even when you can't feel it, the glow is still building within you. Every dark night is teaching your light how to burn steadier. Healing also asks you to be gentle with yourself, to stop demanding that you move on and instead allow yourself to move through. There's a difference. Moving on means trying to forget. Moving through means learning, integrating, transforming. Healing doesn't mean pretending you were never broken. It means understanding that your brokenness was never your ending. It was your becoming. The cracks in your soul let the light in. They are not flaws. They are evidence of endurance. And as time passes, you'll begin to notice the shift. The memories that once triggered pain will start to carry wisdom instead. The wounds that once bled will begin to glow softly, like scars kissed by light. You'll begin to see how every heartbreak was a teacher, every disappointment a sculptor, every tear a seed. You'll see that healing wasn't about returning to who you were. It was about becoming someone wiser, softer, stronger. Healing teaches you that peace doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just the absence of chaos. It's the first morning you wake up and realize your heart feels lighter. It's the way laughter returns quietly, without warning. It's the way you stop needing answers for everything that went wrong. It's the quiet acceptance that maybe things didn't go as planned because they were never meant to, and maybe that's okay. There will come a day when you realize that your pain has become your power. The parts of you that once hurt the most are now the parts that can hold others with compassion. Your scars, once hidden, will shine as symbols of survival. You'll understand that you didn't just heal, you evolved. Healing doesn't erase the story, it changes the way you tell it. It turns bitterness into gratitude, fear into wisdom, and loss into depth. So don't rush your healing. Don't demand that it look pretty or make sense. Let it be what it needs to be: messy, quiet, slow, unpredictable. Trust the process, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Trust that beneath the silence, your soul is doing sacred work. The glow is coming, gentle but unstoppable. Healing doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need recognition. It shows up in subtle ways, in the calm after a storm, in the smile that feels real again, in the way your heart begins to open to life once more. One day you'll realize that you've become your own source of light Not because the world fixed you, but because you learned how to hold yourself through the darkness until you found your glow again. That is the beauty of healing. It doesn't shout. It hums softly. It doesn't demand attention. It teaches you presence. It doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be patient. And as you wait, as you rest, as you breathe, it builds quietly, tenderly, radiantly. And when it is ready, it rises within you like the morning sun, not in haste, not in noise, but in the calm assurance that you have become whole again, not by rushing, but by glowing quietly. There comes a time in every life when you start to wonder if your presence still matters, when your spirit feels dim, when your voice feels small, and when your heart starts to believe that perhaps the world would spin just the same without you. You grow tired, you grow quiet, and a part of you begins to disappear into the shadows of your own doubt. But I am here to remind you, the world still needs your light, even if it flickers, even if it trembles, even if it feels like a single flame in an endless night. Your light has purpose. It was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be seen. Somewhere, someone is walking through their own darkness, praying for a sign that hope still exists, and your light might be that sign. You may not even realize the way your presence touches others, the way your laughter lifts the room, the way your resilience inspires someone who thought they couldn't go on. You have no idea how many hearts have silently drawn strength from yours. Even when you are unsure of your worth, you are still radiating something sacred. The world is filled with stars, but none of them shine the way you do. You were created to contribute something unique, a light only you can give. Maybe it's in your words. Maybe it's in your kindness. Maybe it's in your ability to listen when others are hurting. But it is there within you, waiting to be shared. The world doesn't need you to be grand or flawless. It needs you to be genuine. It needs your authenticity, your compassion, your truth. It needs your presence even when you feel unready, even when you think you have nothing left to give. The truth is, the world's darkness is not as strong as its light, but the light must be brave enough to shine. When you hide yourself because of fear or pain, you dim the collective glow. You might believe your light is too small to make a difference, but think of a single candle in a dark room. It doesn't remove the shadows, yet it changes everything. That's what you do. You change everything simply by choosing to shine again. You don't have to shout your light. You don't have to stand on a stage or carry the world's burdens. Sometimes shining means just showing up. It means offering a kind word, giving someone your time, forgiving when it's hard, or smiling when you don't feel like it. It means letting your existence be a quiet reminder that goodness still lives here. Your light doesn't have to blind the world. It just has to be enough to guide someone home. There will be times when life tests your brightness, times when heartbreak, failure, or loss tries to convince you that your flame has gone out. But light cannot die. It only changes form. Even when you feel broken, your spirit still glows. Even when you cry, there's courage in your tears. Even when you fall, there's grace in your rising. The world doesn't need perfection from you. It needs your persistence. It needs your willingness to keep trying, to keep believing, to keep loving despite the pain. Remember, your light is not meant to be compared. The sun and the moon never compete, yet both illuminate the world in their own time. Some people shine boldly in daylight, others glow softly in the dark. Both are necessary, both are beautiful. You don't have to be like anyone else. You don't have to burn brighter. Just be real. Your kind of light, in your own rhythm, in your own way, is exactly what this world is missing. Sometimes you may not even see the difference you're making. You'll think your efforts go unnoticed, your kindness unreturned, your struggles unseen. But just because you can't see the effect doesn't mean it's not there. Every act of goodness sends ripples through the lives of others. You might smile at a stranger who was ready to give up. You might speak a word that saves someone from despair. You might inspire someone just by surviving. The light you give out comes back to you, even when you least expect it. The world can be harsh. It can make you want to retreat, to close your heart, to guard your glow, but don't let it. Don't let bitterness dim what is beautiful about you. Don't let cynicism convince you that your light is wasted. The fact that darkness exists is not a reason to hide, it's a reason to shine louder. Light is not defeated by darkness, it's defined by it. Without night, we would never understand the power of dawn. Without hardship, we would never appreciate the brilliance of resilience. Your light is not just for others, it's also for you. When you choose to shine, you heal parts of yourself. Every time you express kindness, you remind your soul that love still lives in you. Every time you share hope, you feed your own faith. Every time you choose to rise, you tell the universe that your purpose is still alive. The act of shining is not selfless, it's sacred. It's how you stay connected to the source of who you are. And even if your light feels small right now, it's still enough. A spark is all it takes to begin again. The greatest fires begin with the faintest glow. You are not behind, you are not forgotten. You are still here, and that means the story is not over. You still have time to light up the spaces that only you can touch. You still have time to become the reason someone believes in goodness again. So take a breath. Remember who you are. You are not a mistake. You are not invisible. You are not too late. You are a carrier of light in a world that desperately needs it. And even if your hands shake, even if your flame wavers, keep holding it high. Somewhere, someone is walking in darkness looking for a glimmer of hope, and your light may be the one that leads them home. The world still needs your kindness, your creativity, your tenderness, your voice. It still needs the way you care, the way you see beauty in small things, the way you make others feel seen. It still needs your laughter, your art, your courage, your story. Every piece of you that has survived deserves to shine. You are not here by accident. You are here because this world, in all its imperfection, still needs the light that only you can bring. And when you forget that, look up at the sky. The stars do not ask permission to shine, they simply do. So should you. Keep glowing, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. You were born to bring warmth to cold places, to remind others that light still exists, to prove that even after the darkest night, something beautiful can still rise. The world still needs your light, and it always will. Rising is not about perfection, it's about permission. Permission to begin again, permission to be seen in your becoming, permission to be unfinished, uncertain, and still worthy. Somewhere along the way, many of us began to believe that we had to be flawless to move forward, that we could only rise once the pain was gone, once the past was fixed, once the doubt disappeared. But life has never asked you to be perfect. It has only ever asked you to keep showing up. You do not need to have every answer. You do not need to know every step. You only need to say, I give myself permission to try again, because that is where true rising begins, not in control, but in courage, not in flawless execution, but in fierce honesty. The moment you stop waiting to be perfect, you begin to live free. We live in a world that glorifies perfection, perfect success, perfect healing, perfect peace. But perfection is an illusion that keeps too many souls trapped in silence. People wait until they feel ready, but readiness is a myth. Nobody is ever fully ready to rise. They just decide that staying down hurts more than standing up. Rising isn't about proving yourself to the world. It's about reclaiming yourself from fear. You see, permission is not given by others. It's given by you. The world can doubt you, reject you, misunderstand you, and still you get to rise. You get to wake up one morning and say, I am not my mistakes. I am not my failures. I am not my fears. I am a work in progress, and I am still allowed to begin again. That declaration, simple as it seems, is the sound of wings stretching after a long night. Perfection whispers that you must hide your flaws to be worthy of love. Permission reminds you that your flaws make you real, and being real is far more powerful than being perfect. You don't have to perform your healing, you only need to live it. Healing doesn't look graceful all the time. Sometimes it's messy, uncertain, and slow. Sometimes it's falling apart before finding the strength to stand again, but that's still rising. Every moment you choose not to give up, that's a resurrection. Perfection will tell you to wait until the scars fade, until you've proven your worth. But permission says, go now. Go even with trembling hands and a voice that shakes. Go even with the memory of past pain still clinging to your heart. Because courage doesn't come after the fear disappears. It comes in spite of it. The bravest thing you will ever do is say yes to yourself before the world does. We are all afraid of failing, of being judged, of being seen in our vulnerability. But the truth is, the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more honest ones. People who stand in their truth even when it's messy. People who admit they don't have it all figured out, but choose to love, to create, to rise anyway. That's the beauty of permission. It breaks the chains of perfectionism and invites authenticity to breathe again. Think of the flower pushing through the soil. It doesn't bloom because it is perfect. It blooms because it dares. It pushes through the dark, uncertain of what waits above. It trusts that light exists even when it cannot see it yet. That's what rising is. Not a flawless performance, but a daring act of faith. You rise not because you know how, but because you refuse to stay buried. Every time you rise, you redefine what strength means. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting up differently each time you do. It's about the small decisions to try again after failure, to love again after heartbreak, to believe again after disappointment. Those choices, quiet and invisible to others, are where your power lives. Rising is not a single moment of triumph. It's a series of gentle permissions. Permission to rest, to breathe, to try, to heal, to start again. And yes, there will be days when rising feels impossible, when the weight of the world presses so heavily against your chest that even breathing feels like a battle. On those days, perfection will tell you to quit, but permission will whisper just one more breath. Because rising doesn't always look like leaping. Sometimes it looks like surviving. Sometimes it's not a roar, but a whisper that says, I am still here. The truth is, perfection isolates, but permission connects. When you allow yourself to be human, you create space for others to be human too. When you admit that you don't have it all together, you become a light for someone else who thought they had to. Rising together begins with permission, the permission to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to be enough just as you are. It's easy to think you need validation from others to move forward, that you need the world's applause or approval, but rising is not a performance. It's a private act of courage that begins deep within. You don't need anyone to crown you worthy. You don't need anyone to sign your permission slip. You already have the right to rise simply because you exist. So give yourself permission to fail beautifully, to make mistakes loudly, to outgrow old versions of yourself without apology. Give yourself permission to learn, to change, to be seen. Every season of your life has something to teach you, and you are allowed to evolve through them all. You don't have to explain your growth to anyone. You don't have to shrink to make others comfortable. Rising will sometimes mean leaving behind people who only loved your silence. But you are not here to dim yourself. You are here to shine as you grow. The world may not celebrate every step you take. There will be moments when your rising goes unnoticed, moments when you doubt its worth. But don't stop. The seed doesn't bloom the day it's planted, and the light doesn't always arrive when expected. Still, both continue, so must you. Each time you give yourself permission to stand taller, to breathe deeper, to try again, you invite a new version of yourself to be born. You are not meant to be perfect. You are meant to be present, to feel deeply, to fall and rise and fall again. That is the rhythm of being alive. You don't have to be the sun every day. Even the moon has phases, and yet it never loses its light. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your permission to live, to feel, to grow. Because when you rise, imperfect and unready, you show others that they can too. So rise, not when you are perfect, but because you are worthy. Rise even if your knees tremble. Rise even if no one claps. Rise even if you have to do it afraid. The moment you decide that you no longer need permission from anyone else, you begin to truly live. Rising is not about getting it all right. It's about giving yourself the freedom to become who you've always been meant to be. Rising is not about perfection, it's about permission. Permission to begin again, permission to stumble, permission to be unfinished and still worthy. Too often we chain ourselves to the idea that only when we're flawless, healed, and strong enough can we stand tall. But rising doesn't wait for the storm to pass. It happens right in the middle of it. The truth is, perfection is a mask and permission is freedom. You don't need to have all the answers before you move. You don't need to erase your past before you start again. The act of rising is not a celebration of what's complete. It's an honoring of what's still in progress. You rise not because everything is perfect, but because your heart whispers, "Try anyway." And that whisper is your courage taking shape. Perfection will tell you that you must hide your scars to be seen, but your scars are the proof that you've lived. Rising isn't about being untouched by pain. It's about refusing to let pain have the final word. It's about standing in the ruins of what broke you and saying, "I still belong here." Because even in pieces, you are powerful. When you rise, it doesn't have to be loud or grand. Sometimes it's a quiet decision in the dark, to breathe again, to hope again, to forgive yourself for the days you didn't believe you could. Permission doesn't need an audience. It only needs your yes. A shaky yes still counts. A tired yes still moves mountains. You see, no one will ever hand you the right moment to start over. You create it. The world may doubt you, but you are not here to be proven perfect. You are here to be real, to show what it means to live honestly. Rising means saying, "I am enough, even now." That is not arrogance, that is truth. Every time you choose to get back up, you rewrite the story of your strength. Strength isn't a spotless record, it's a record of resilience. You don't rise because you've conquered all fear. You rise because you've learned to walk beside it. You don't rise because you've erased your flaws. You rise because you've decided they no longer define you. So let the world see your climb, not your polish. Let it see the dirt under your nails, the sweat on your brow, the tremor in your steps. Because someone out there is watching and thinking they're too broken to rise, and your imperfect rising will show them that they're not. Rising is not about perfection, it's about permission, the permission to be a masterpiece and a work in progress all at once. You are not behind, you are not unworthy, you are simply becoming, and that in itself is enough reason to rise again. Every sunrise is an invitation to begin again. Each morning, the sky stretches open like a promise, whispering that no matter what happened yesterday, you still have a chance today. The light slips quietly over the earth, touching broken rooftops, tired hearts, and hopeful eyes alike. It doesn't discriminate between the worthy and the weary. It simply arrives, soft, steady, faithful. And in that moment, life gives you another invitation to rise, to try, to start over. There's something sacred about the first light of day. It doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't ask for explanations. It doesn't remind you of your mistakes. It simply offers itself gently, as if to say, you are still here, and that means you still have time. The sun doesn't ask what you did with your last dawn. It only offers this one. Every sunrise is forgiveness written in gold across the horizon. You see, no matter how deep the night, morning always finds a way back. That's the rhythm of the universe. Endings giving birth to beginnings. The darkness you walk through is not the death of your story. It's the soil where your next chapter takes root. The sunrise doesn't erase the night, it transforms it. The same is true of you. Whatever has tried to break you, whatever has weighed you down, is not the end. It is the preparation for your rising. There will be mornings when you wake up and the sun feels too bright, when hope feels far away. But remember, even on the days when clouds hide the light, it's still there. The sun doesn't vanish. It only waits for the storm to pass. And maybe that's what you're being called to do too. To wait with faith, to breathe through the gray, to believe that light will find you again. You don't have to rush your beginning. You just have to stay open to it. Every sunrise is a chance to forgive yourself, to release the weight of what you didn't say, what you couldn't fix, what you had to let go. Yesterday's mistakes are not your forever story. You are allowed to outgrow who you were. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress. You are allowed to wake up different, because that's what life is, a constant becoming. Each morning is proof that even the sky believes in transformation. Sometimes we forget that we too can start again. We hold on to yesterday's pain so tightly that we miss the quiet miracle of the present moment. But beginnings aren't loud. They often arrive softly in ordinary moments. A deep breath, a simple choice, a small act of courage. Maybe beginning again means getting out of bed when it's easier to hide. Maybe it means forgiving someone who never apologized. Maybe it means daring to hope when your heart is still bruised. Starting over isn't always grand. Sometimes it's just gentle persistence. The beauty of a sunrise is that it doesn't erase the night, it redeems it. The darkness gives meaning to the light. Without your nights of sorrow, your mornings of peace wouldn't shine as brightly. Every experience, even the painful ones, has shaped you into who you are. You don't have to despise the darkness that came before your dawn. It was the cocoon that prepared you for your wings. The night is not your enemy, it's your teacher. And when the light returns, it doesn't rush. It unfolds slowly, patiently. That's how beginnings work. They take time. You don't wake up whole. You wake up willing. You don't have to know how everything will unfold. You just have to show up for your own life, one sunrise at a time. The universe will handle the rest. There's a quiet truth in the morning air. No matter how many times you've fallen, life still trusts you enough to give you another day. Think about that. The sun still rises for you. The world still makes space for you. Even when you doubt yourself, creation itself says, try again. That's not coincidence, that's grace. And grace is the kind of love that doesn't keep score. It only keeps showing up. The invitation of the sunrise is not about forgetting the past. It's about not being defined by it. You carry the lessons, not the labels. You carry the growth, not the guilt. You carry the strength, not the story of your scars. Each morning you are rewritten, softer, wiser, freer, and the world awaits this new version of you, the one who dares to step forward despite yesterday's shadows. If you've ever felt like you've lost too much time, remember this: time renews itself every dawn. The sun does not rise to mock your past. It rises to remind you that you still have purpose. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not disqualified from joy. The same light that touches the mountains touches you too, inviting you to lift your face, to open your eyes, to remember that you belong to this day. You don't have to have everything figured out to begin again. You don't have to feel strong to move forward. You just have to be willing to let light in where darkness once lived. Every sunrise is proof that healing is possible, proof that endings are temporary, proof that no night, no matter how long, can stop the morning from coming. And maybe that's the quiet miracle of being alive, that no matter how many times you fall, you're given another chance to rise. Life doesn't count how many times you fail, it counts how many times you return. The world doesn't need your perfection, it needs your presence. It needs your willingness to keep showing up. So when the next sunrise comes, don't let it pass you by. Don't hide from its light. Let it touch the parts of you that still ache. Let it remind you that you are not finished yet. You are still unfolding, still learning, still capable of joy. The light that stretches across the sky each morning is not just for the world, it's for you. It's your invitation to breathe again, to love again, to begin again. Because every sunrise says the same quiet truth. You are still here, and that means hope is too. My dear one, the night is long, but it is not endless. You are not broken beyond repair. You are only between chapters. Stand by your window of faith, even if your hands tremble. Because somewhere beyond your fear, beyond your sorrow, beyond the heavy ache of yesterday, the sun still waits for you. And when you are ready to rise, it will meet you exactly where you left off, patient, bright, and believing in your return.